Hey, 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 and welcome to Financial Confidence on WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. I'm your host, Lynn Demmons. That's Demmons, no demons here, Demmons. We thank you for tuning in for this episode of Financial Confidence. You make your money, keep your money, and grow your money so you can do those things that you're called to do. That's to build generational wealth and leave an inheritance for your children's children. Our guiding principle for this show is Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. We also implore that you pray over your finances so you can do the things that you're called to do. So if you will, bow with me. Lord, help us to value the things in this world that are really valuable. That's our relationship with you, our lives, and our families. Help make us responsible stewards of your financial resources, and let us trust your holy word. In eternal glory, in thy son Jesus, we pray. Amen. All right, guys, we are ready to get it started with the tax guru. Yes, the tax guru. I know you hate it. This is not your favorite, but it's something you must know. Yes, you must know these things. We have an expert in the audience. As our guest today. Also, guys, she is the local business person of the year. So you don't want to miss this. Get your pen and your paper. Get the information you need to protect you, your business, and your family's financial legacy. So I wanted to introduce to you all today, Miss Cathi Corlin. Cathi, how are you?
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Awesome. It's a pleasure to have you. It's always important to have someone of your expertise, if you will, with us here on the podcast. So if you will, just share a little bit about yourself, please.
So my name is Cathi Corlin, and I'm an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a federally licensed tax professional, and I'm a certified tax coach. I'm a graduate of the American Institute of Certified Tax Planners. I've been in the industry about 15 years. I've my own business for 6.
Okay, awesome. So in thinking about that, talking about your tax expertise, how did you get to this point? What led you to become an enrolled agent, this person who's going to ensure that everyone's abiding by those guidelines of the IRS?
Ever since I was a little child, I liked filling out forms. My mom said I would have sold the house if I could have. But I was always interested in taxes because they're like a big puzzle. There's all these different pieces, and sometimes they can go together in different ways to make different outcomes. And for some reason, I wanted to be a tax attorney. We couldn't afford law school. And so I kind of just stopped doing it. And years and years later, I got back into tax. My husband said, if that's what you really want to do, we'll figure out a way to make it happen. And I started off with a tax class, and it grew from there.
Awesome. So you mentioned when you were a little girl, you used to fill out forms. So what was your first job then growing up? What did little Cathi do with the first job and her first paycheck?
So I am from California, in Santa Cruz, which is the only boardwalk on the West Coast. And my first job was in the restaurant there. I stayed there about 5 years, and I went from just a cashier to actually the manager of the restaurant, and I stayed there about 5-6 years.
All right. So thinking back to that first paycheck there at the restaurant, what did you do with it?
My first paycheck, I actually went out and put a deposit on my first apartment.
Oh, awesome. I can remember thinking back through all of my guests, and no one has said that, right? Put a deposit on their apartment. So you're our first. Awesome. So in thinking about that, that path, how did you get from the restaurant experience, you know, from that experience to the tax experience? Can you sort of take us down that path, or what is your journey? What is your story?
So I started off at the restaurant for about I was about 19. Then from there, I went, and it's a very expensive town. Santa Cruz is, on the West Coast. We're only an hour and a half from San Francisco. Prices of housing grew very quickly. I did go to college, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would, even though I was really a straight A student. And I went from the restaurant to working in the mall, like a lot of kids do. We all went to work at the restaurant. We all worked at the mall. And then I ended up getting a job in the travel industry for a local travel wholesaler. And I spent 10 and a half years actually booking vacations for people. And with that, I actually got to travel. And I got to travel to many places around the world: Hawaii, Greece, London, Paris, all kinds of places. And then September 11 hit, and sales dropped dramatically. And I was commuting an hour and a half, gas guzzler truck, and the opportunity came up to take a class in tax. And I had always wanted to do it. And so I just did it. My company was really supportive and let me work different hours so that I can fit the class in. I would work full time and commute an hour and a half each way. And then afterwards, go to class. Then when I finished the class, for my first tax season, I worked for H&R Block, big box stores, the first season. My very first day, I had a couple that came in and had their little fidelity statement, for their finances. And they had to go back home because they forgot something. And I went to my coworker and I said, I can't do this. You're going to take the people over. Because it hit me that it was the first time I had to do a tax return with no answer book. And it really dawned on me how important this is to the individual person's financial life. This is not just, a tax return puzzle, but what I'm doing is going to affect not just their refunds or how much they pay, but really it affects what happens for them financially. And that just hit me over the head like the first day I actually went to work. And I realized just how important the job was.
Right. Yeah, that is very important. It's a huge, crucial part that a person can use now to set them up to truly build their financial legacy if they know, right, how to actually use that document after the taxes are filed. But before we get to that, I do want to ask you one question about something you said earlier about the travel industry. What was your favorite place to travel that you traveled?
I really, really enjoyed Greece. I was actually, Greece is an Orthodox country, mostly. Mm-hmm. And I had actually just met my future husband, and he was Russian. He had been raised in Orthodox, but not really in church. And so I was just kind of getting my first introduction to Orthodoxy. And then here I am in Greece, which is highly Orthodox. And I got to visit a couple of the Greek mm-hmm. churches, and it's just an amazing feeling when you walk into the church. The island of Mykonos has 3,000 churches technically, because when the war happened and the men left, all the families created their own little churches so they could go pray for their family members who went off the war.
Oh, awesome, awesome. It is a beautiful story. And they have a lot of beautiful architecture as well. Mm-hmm. So let's get back to the taxes. Let's talk about this. Oftentimes there are misbeliefs or false beliefs or misconceptions, whichever word you choose, that people have when it comes to their taxes. So if someone's coming into you as a client, give us an idea of some of those misconceptions that you've encountered and how to help dispel those misconceptions.
So there's a misconception about what we call the standard deduction and itemizing. So when you buy a house, I've had people come, I bought a house in December, so now I'm going to get a refund. With the increase of this, the standard deduction is how much you can make before you pay any taxes. And you have an option of just choosing standard or itemizing. So using your mortgage interest, property taxes, charitable contributions, medical, and people mix the two up. So they figure, well, it's not worth buying a house or worth doing that if I can't write it off. You're still building a value in that house, whether it's enough to write off. And if you don't have enough to write off, then you're getting a bonus by having the standard deduction. You're actually making more money more than you would have if you were writing the house off. And people also mix up itemizing with a business. So if they have their own small business and they're writing off their business expenses, people call it itemizing. And I ask them, we start with the house and stuff. They say, well, I already itemized my business. And they don't separate the two. Yes, you write off your business expenses on your business portion of your return. The itemizing is on your personal portion of the return. So people are always mixing those two up.
Awesome. So when you think about supporting your clients, then what would you say is the best information that you would share with someone who is looking for support, whether there's a set of rules and guidelines for personal and a set of rules and guidelines for the business? What would be the best case scenario for you?
So I take a look at their business. I take a look at their past year's tax returns to make sure they were done correctly. I ask a lot of questions. Sometimes people think I'm maybe too nosy. I had a client who is an insurance agent, and we had discussed just about how her business runs. I ask a lot of questions, and I have actually been known to go to your business. Because sometimes if I go to your business, I might see something that you didn't think about or notice. I'm looking for things to write off. I'm looking for things to change. I ask about what you've done this year. So if you buy a building and you're renting it out, and we write that building off like 39 years. Well, if you bought it as one piece, it's just one price. But we can actually do a survey and take all the different pieces of that building and maybe depreciate them in shorter time and save you money. And actually you'll pay less tax because we can split everything up. I talk to people who have small businesses. How do we want to write off medical expenses? If you're a sole proprietor, we can write them off this way. If you're an S corporation or a C corporation, we write them off one of these two ways. So we talk about how is the best way to manage each piece of the business, whether it's the right time and what your business should be. When we have a large refund, I try to talk to you about what your goal is. What is it that we can help you with? If you're an individual, do we need to use some of that money to invest for your future, for your retirement? Do we want to put it into a new vehicle? What is the best use of the money? Some clients just take it and they just spend it. I had a family of like 5 that was living with the wife's mom, and all the dad wanted to do was buy a large screen TV instead of getting his family out of the house. I had a lady who did in-home care. Her income wasn't actually taxable, but she wasn't aware of that. So after talking with her, I went back and I amended 3 years of her tax returns. We got her around $10,000 back, which was really heaven sent because it was going to take about 2 months for her to get the money. But in 3 months, she was going to be having open heart surgery and she wouldn't be able to work. And so it was like God just placed us there right that time so that now she would have the funds to survive with her recovery time for her accident. These are the things that really make me appreciate what I do. If I could help people in these ways, it makes all the difference in the world.
Awesome. Yeah, those are some really great stories and examples that you share there with those false beliefs, misconceptions, and things that you can do to fix it. So thinking about individuals starting from today. So last year, 2020, everything went awry, right? Everything went awry, from even to the point where your taxes were extended out until July. So we all know now that that's not going to happen, right? Everything's still due at the normal time, normal date, April 15th. So what recommendations would you make to that person who wasn't ready for this year, or they didn't do everything right last year? What recommendations would you make for them to ensure that 2021 is set up appropriately?
So the law requires that all documents be mailed out by January 31st. There are only a couple that may have an exception to that. When you get your documents, keep them together in a nice, safe place, because I find that people lose their documents by the time they get them and they come to me. Don't wait until the end of the tax season to file if you have all your documents. People who owe tend to wait, and then they're surprised by how much they owe. If you come in as soon as you get your documents and you have everything ready to go, we can file your return and you don't have to pay until April. But at least you know how much it is, and we can think of a way to make it work. I also will help you design a plan so that you actually don't have to owe so much. Whether we suggest taking more money out of your taxes, doing quarterly taxes, we can actually plan it so that you're not overwhelmed next year. What I find that is a lot of people, they think they need the cash, they file for exempt, 99 deductions, and they have no money taken out of their taxes, their paychecks. They owe a lot of money at the end of the year, and they do it every year. And then the taxes just build up and build up. And then the penalties and the interest, and then they can't keep an installment arrangement. They can't keep it up because everything just keeps increasing, but they don't change the behaviors. So I work with them to try to change those behaviors. Let's get taxes taken out of your check. Let's have you do payments every 3 months. I set up a reminder system so that they get a reminder to make that payment in 3 months. I'm not going to abandon you just because tax season is over. I actually work with my clients throughout the year. So I have clients that I send a reminder every 3 months. Don't forget to do this. Don't forget to do this. Did you make your payment here? Did you put that investment in? I have a couple of younger clients that we actually got them to start some financial planning early. It's really hard. If you don't understand something, it's just too hard, so you don't do it. And when we're young, we're never going to die. So we don't plan for our future. And I was the same type of thing. And we wait until we're 40 or 50 to realize that we need a retirement and we need a future. And so if we don't understand something, we just don't do it. And they don't ask the question. So I'm working on getting younger people to get everything in line. I work with lenders to help the younger people learn how to qualify to buy a house. I work with the financial planners, and I actually do some financial planning myself. I am life and health insurance licensed also. I work with the client to protect themselves once they buy that home with a trust. Get all your assets into a trust so that if something does happen to you, your heirs don't have to worry about inheriting that home. In California, a $350,000 house will cost $10,000 to get through probate. So your heirs will not end up getting that house. They'll end up having to sell it to get through probate. So I help my clients to avoid those mistakes. And I do work with clients around the country when they're all in different places, no state income tax or state tax, use taxes. It all depends on where they are in that stage of life. How can I help them get to that next stage?
Swing Into Their Dreams Foundation presents the Golf Tournament of the Year, raising scholarships for aspiring National Golf Club in Milton, Georgia. the inaugural HBCU Swing Into Their Dreams Charity Golf Tournament. Registration and gourmet continental breakfast begins at 8 a.m. and shotgun at 10 a.m. Award reception follows. Come enjoy a day of jazz, mimosa, cigars, cash bar, silent auction, and more. For more information, contact 770-686-7143. Their dreams. Don't miss it.
I love it, Cathi. So what I'm hearing from you is not only do you help your client have a plan beyond their taxes, but you also work with other financial experts, right, in the world, in that, you know, because it requires a team. We need a team to manage our finances and to do it the correct way. So guys, if you didn't take anything away from that except this one point, make sure that you hire those experts on your financial team. And it's not when I make more money, I'll hire a team. It's now so you can be a good steward of those finances, right? And then once you do make more money, you'll know exactly where it needs to go, or you'll have that person on your team who knows exactly where that needs to go. So I love that conversation. It's a holistic conversation. You covered everything, essentially, from the job to the grade, right? What are those things we need to have in place along the way to ensure that all of our finances are set up appropriately? So Cathi, I wanted to ask you, what would be the last thing that you would like to share with our audience before we close out this show?
Don't put things off. When you put things off, especially when it comes to taxes, you're going to pay more. If they think that you're defrauding, or if you're doing payroll issues wrong, there's 100% penalty. Everything that you get has a penalty or interest involved to it. The longer it takes, the more you're going to pay. Someone like me can sometimes get you out of some of the penalties and interest, but even if you're in an installment arrangement, the interest still accrues until that's paid off. So the better we can do to get you set up. And just because someone's a cheap tax professional doesn't mean they're good or bad. If somebody's really expensive doesn't mean they're good or bad. You need to actually talk to the individual. And yes, sometimes tax preparation and working with professionals might seem expensive in the beginning, but in the long run, they're going to save you more than you spent.
Absolutely. Save more than you spent over the long term, guys. That's what we're all about. It's about building generational wealth, and we're helping you to manifest your millions. Cathi, one more question for you. What's the one thing you want that you can't buy, that money can't buy?
The one thing I would want that money cannot buy would be just kind of peace around. I know that sometimes when we get overwhelmed, that all of a sudden you just need to disappear for a while. So we need to keep ourselves from being overwhelmed, and not to take everything that everybody wants you to do. Think about what you need to do. So sometimes it's just a matter of closing the door and taking some time to yourself.
Profound, guys. No is a complete sentence, and what I heard was there, self-care is extremely important. You definitely need peace. Peace in your life, peace in your mind, peace in your environment, just peace all around. I appreciate you so much, Cathi, for having that candid conversation with us. And thank you so much for tuning in and joining us for Financial Confidence. One more thing, Cathi, will you please share with us, for anyone who would love to connect with you, please share where we can find you.
Thank you. So I'm actually in Modesto, California, which is the Central Coast by the Gallo Winery. And it can be reached at Cathi at taxguruette.com, which is CATHI at TAXGURUETTE.com, or 209-402-4661.
All right, guys, that's Cathi, the tax guru. All right, Cathi, thank you so much for joining us here at Financial Confidence. And guys, we want to know if this was invaluable for you, please head over to WYTV7.org, leave a donation so we can continue to do what we do. That's to educate, empower, and inspire. I want to thank you for listening in, Financial Confidence. Don't forget to subscribe and get updates. Give us a call or text us at 312-487-3350. And our keyword is Podcast FC. That's Podcast FC as in Financial Confidence. We thank you again for tuning in for this episode. We'll see you again the same place at the same time. Until then, you guys stay safe.
What if you could bring HBCUs and golf together? Well, now you can by joining Swing Into Their Dreams Foundation on the golf course, as we provide support and raise scholarships for aspiring HBCU students. Our HBCU students need our support now during this pandemic more than ever. So here's how you can help. We are looking for sponsors, golfers, and volunteers like you. If you're an entrepreneur, business owner, executive, or an HBCU alum, we need you. Now's your chance to make a difference. Log on to swingintotheirdreams.com. That's swingintotheirdreams.com. Or call us at 770-686-7148. That's 770-686-7148. Because we don't just want HBCU students to go to college, we want them to strive, thrive, and graduate.
Finances in a rut? Need a way out? Lynn Demmons is here to help. She's your personal financial rebound coach. Being a wife, mother, and educator, she understands the importance of controlling your finances and building generational wealth. She is here to help you find money you didn't know you had and live life on your terms. Sounds too good to be true? Well, it is true, and it's definitely a good thing. Lynn Demmons of Demmons Enterprise offers one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and radio podcast entitled Financial Confidence God's Way on WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. Lynn Demmons of
%80 of women will develop a pelvic health condition at some point in their lives. There is relief. There is hope. The Pelvic Floor Store, your resource for personal health.